Welcome into the Stack Shack Sports Show. It has been a wild weekend of Valorant, and we're in the books of week one of kickoff tournament. Man, what an amazing set of matches. Really not any blowouts. I think the only real big blowout came maybe 100 Thieves on map 2 in their first game, but they ended up losing that match anyway. So very competitive matches all the way through, and we're going to go through each one of them rapid fire. I do this for the NFL every week. I'm doing it for Valorant every week. Here we go. We kicked off with a look at NRG, a team that a lot of people say this is a super team, right? A team that took the winningest core in Valorant history, essentially, the old Optic core, and added two world champions, Ethan and Demon 1. They performed. Absolutely performed. Furia made it tough. I mean, if we look at the maps here, first map on Breeze, 13-10. That's a close match. Ascent, 13-8. Not as close. NRG really cooking late. The scary thing, I think, for other teams looking at, where do they stack up? The scary thing about NRG, to me, is they did this as one of the teams that maybe had a little less practice coming in than some others. Ethan, Demon 1, playing at a high level. The Optic core continuing to play at a high level. The big question coming into this match was, how would Ethan do in an IGL role? I'd say he does pretty darn well. 17-13 and then 20-11. Absolutely cooked there, especially with the Sky nerfs recently. We're worried a little bit about Ethan, maybe, but KO just fine. He's played KO plenty of times before. Big win for NRG, right? This was one I did predict. If we look at my pick'ems, I had NRG winning that matchup. I just don't think Furia quite had the team set up. Now, they competed. It was close. The parity this year in VCT Americas is actually ridiculous. And moving on, talking about parity, Cloud9 MIBR, really close game, 2-1. Cloud9 gets the quick win on Bind, loses Split, gets a tight win on Lotus as well, right? These were close games. I personally thought MIBR would have just enough to get through, but Cloud9 showed, hey, we can play. And Oxy really, really showed up for Cloud9. Had the aces. Was just honestly incredible. He had all the big plays you needed to. And he's a rookie, folks. This was his first time on stage, right? And a Tier 1 tournament. Really impressive. Really excited for Cloud9. He was an unexpected success story to me. I thought, you know what? The experience of MIBR, they're going to lock it in. They're going to be able to beat Cloud9 in a close one. And, maybe later on in the tournament, I thought Cloud9, get a little time, get Oxy some time on stage. I had them meeting once again in the losers bracket, but instead MIBR drops down immediately to the losers bracket. Then we move on to day 2, what many are calling the group of death, okay? This middle group, Loud, Sentinels, Leviathan, and 100 Thieves. I have to say, and this is after watching the 100 Thieves Sentinels match just finished up. We will get to that, don't worry. But I have to say, after watching this, I really do think this is the group of death. It is very possible that these 4 teams are in the top 5. Now, MIBR, I think, showed some dominance in the losers bracket in their first game against Furia. But I'm going to be honest. These 4 teams, I think those are at least in the top 6. Right? At least in the top 6. Now, we haven't seen EG yet. So let's, we can't make too many decisions early. But it's very possible that these are the 4 of the top 5. With NRG and then those 4 being your top 5 teams. It really looked to me as far as how close these matches were. Sentinels loses 2-0, but look at these score lines. 13-11, That is, you have to win by 2 in Valorant. So, you know, don't be like, oh, well, they could have lost by 1. No, that is the minimum you can lose by. And then 13-9, played pretty well. They battled. Now, Sadak. We have to talk about Sadak. The dude just keeps reloading. I'll admit, I thought losing Aspas and the head coach would be a significant problem for Loud. Nope. Sadak reloads IGLs masterfully and gets close matchup wins against Sentinels. Beautifully called game. Absolutely incredible. Now to the team that Aspas went to, right? Leviathan 100 Thieves. This one goes 2-1. Remember how I said the parity? The parity in this league, from top to bottom, it is close. There is not miles difference. There is not a completely dominating team right now. You might say Loud, you might say NRG. The Loud win obviously looks pretty good after what Sentinels was able to pull off against 100 Thieves today. Again, we'll talk about that match in a minute because that was one of our elimination matches. But these are close matchups. Leviathan coming in as a team that hadn't dropped a map in one of the early season tournaments. Aspas is a raid boss. He is the big boss of the video game. The dude, it's kill Aspas and you win the round. Don't kill Aspas and you're going to lose. He was dominant. Okay? Dominant. 13-9. It was a battle. Split. Thieves absolutely crushed them. Absolutely crushed them. This was really the only blowout of the weekend. But like I said, they didn't even win that matchup. They lose a tight one on Icebox again. So, for Leviathan, they're good. I don't know long term if I saw enough from the rest of the team. Okay? Tex obviously was a big pickup, right? A new player. Calm, a big move over. Leviathan was kind of rumored as maybe one of those other kind of super teams. You took a team, you added Aspas, which most people consider the best duelist in the game. You add Calm, a world champion, and you add Tex, who was a good solid player on the Ascension team, that now is G2. So this was a good performance from Leviathan. Split, maybe it's just a little bit of an anomaly for them. Very, very interesting. Now, to talk 100 Thieves on the other side of this, I projected that 100 Thieves would lose this matchup because I feel like they don't have enough practice. They're not as good coming in. Need a little bit more time for the team to gel. If you saw my video last week, you saw us review and talk about how 100 Thieves is making a complete 180 here. They're really changing up the culture, the play style that their team is going with, and I think it's going to take some time. A couple of notes, though. Boostio played very, very well. Played very well. Was very solid. New IGL comes in. I think it was pretty well called. Looked good. The other very nice surprise, maybe? I don't know if surprise is the best term, but EU played fairly well, okay? EU, I mean, on Split, he top fragged. The kid can play, right? It's not technically his first time playing on 100 Thieves in Tier 1, but it's the first time in VCT, right? There were just some kind of exhibition matches that he had played in before. So that was a good surprise, I think. EU, one of the new players on the team, Boostio the other one, but Boostio was a fairly known quantity. EU, maybe a little lesser known because he had success at the Tier 2 circuit and got picked up by 100 Thieves. So a battle with Leviathan. I thought this was going to be a 2-0, but Split was a huge surprise. Obviously, 100 Thieves have some things going for him. Moving on to our final first round game, Crew G2. I said G2 was going to win this. I have high hopes for G2 coming in. Crew made it closer than I thought it was going to be. They did. And I'll be honest, I was sweating a little bit on my pick'ems, right? When Crew won the first one, 13-9. reverse that score. G2 gets the win on the second map and pulls off a close one. Again, I'm going to emphasize this over and over in this video. The closeness of these teams, the parity, the difference between a top team and the bottom team in VCT right now is not a gap of that much note. It is close. It is tight. All of these games, high pressure, close matchups. So that brings us to probably the two more important matches of the weekend, which were the two elimination matches. So we had these teams, Furia, MIBR, Sentinels, 100 Thieves, all dropped to the losers bracket, and those elimination games were today. MIBR gets the win. I thought they were pretty good. I obviously had them beating Cloud9 in the first round. I had them then losing in the second. Maybe this is going to get flipped, right? Cloud9 gets the win in the first round. We'll have to see how the second goes after NRG and Cloud9 play later next week. But this was a close one. Again, no blowouts here, but MIBR locks it down. They just played really, really well. Havoc had a big bounce back. He went 2-20, we all know, on his first, debut map against NRG. He played much, much better day two. And these young players, these young teams, I really think we're going to see who can grow the most with the meta, with the comps in the competition over time. I think that's going to be the key because there's really not a disparity between the top and bottom teams. Anybody can kind of beat anybody is what I learned from this weekend. And so it's going to be really who is able to iterate, who's able to be ahead of the meta. Early picks for me, I think you got to look at Loud, Sadak. I mean, they came out with some new picks this week. I think they're going to be potentially improving. I think NRG, some of these newer teams in NRG, 100 Thieves potentially, we'll see how those can grow. Obviously, 100 Thieves has a little further to go than NRG probably. But can Sentinels continue to iterate and get stronger? And where does Leviathan? I mean, can they get some extra support? Or is Aspas just good enough to carry them? It'll be very interesting to see long-term how that works out. So this pick, I wasn't particularly surprised. I know Furia was favored in this matchup, but I don't know. I felt like MIBR, their consistency in the offseason, I think they showed a lot of good stuff against Cloud9, and in they came for the win. Then we ended with an absolute banger of a matchup. Two probably most popular teams in North America, Sentinels, 100 Thieves. Winner goes on, loser goes home. And this was a banger start to finish. Absolutely insane. So, Sentinels rolls 100 Thieves map 1. Just rolled them over. 100 Thieves felt a bit lost in this game to me. Again, a slow start for 100 Thieves. This has been kind of the story. Slow starts. They're going to have to fix that. We'll have to see. Sentinels looked good. John QT playing well. Zelsis, Zekin, Tens, Sasi. This team does not feel like they're losing out on Pankata leaving too much. They feel like they've reloaded really well. Beautifully run game to start. Then, almost the same score but flipped, right? 13-5, then 13-6 on Bind. 100 Thieves looks really, really good. Very dominant. Win the last 5 rounds. Right? They lost pistol, but other than that, they won 10 rounds in a row, besides the pistol and the bonus. So, a good map from 100 Thieves, and then Split. It was a battle. It really was. Now, economy for 100 Thieves at the end really fell apart. They didn't win some key rounds. There it is. Sentinels gets the win. Sentinels looked good. I think something that is good about Sentinels that other teams are going to have to be aware of and keep an eye on is you don't see Sentinels making a lot of, I would say, overt mistakes. They play a pretty clean game. Now, that game can be very chaotic. Absolutely. I mean, these maps and matches between 100 Thieves and Sentinels were very chaotic at times, but they play pretty clean. They have the right game sense. And you add in Saucy absolutely going Super Saiyan here on Split at the end. And you have Tens, who's just mechanically better than pretty much everybody else, right? Fantastic play from Sentinels. They get the win. Disappointing loss for 100 Thieves. It was close. It was back and forth. That's how it goes sometimes, right? So those are all the matchups this week. That's how they all ended up. Let's take a look at my pick'ems just to review. Again, I had NRG, Cloud9, Leviathan, 100 Thieves, G2, and Crew all qualifying. Right now, 100 Thieves is out. But that's the only one that is out for me at this moment. The others, all still alive, so I'm feeling okay about my picks. Exact matchups, I thought Sentinels would be able to get Loud. Again, we talked about this. I thought the Aspas and the coach loss would be a problem. It was not. Static reloaded. They win against Sentinels. Leviathan gets the win over 100 Thieves. Actually closer than I thought it was going to be. I had 100 Thieves playing Loud in that matchup, this first matchup. Instead, we got the 100 Thieves Sentinels matchup in round 1. Sentinels gets the win. Down here with G2 and Crew, G2 gets a pretty easy win. This is a matchup I'm very, very, very interested. G2 EG. EG is the one team that we have not seen yet. We haven't seen this team yet. We don't know what the new Evil Geniuses is going to look like. Group C obviously is getting a bit of a benefit. EG winning the World Championships last year. Therefore, they kind of get this bye. But this is almost a completely different roster. Giacomo's still there, but everybody else is different. Can Potter, the head coach, do what she did last season with EG and really get this team up to speed? We'll have to see. Obviously lost her assistant coach to 100 Thieves. How will that affect them? That is the game to watch next weekend. February 24th. It's the first game of the day at 2. Keep an eye on that one. Keep an eye on that one. It is going to be very interesting. I don't know if EG is going to look good. I have G2 winning. I think the consistency that they've had on their team posts well for winning this matchup. That's why I had them qualified. I think they're one of the better teams. But Crew took a map off of them. I think G2 had some moments where the pressure was a little big. Who adapts to that pressure as the season goes on? I think that's the real key storyline to watch. Who gets better as the season goes on? Who is able to continually prepare and adapt and look good under the pressure? 100 Thieves did not look good map 1 under the pressure. Sentinels did. They handled it better. Loud looked prepared, locked in. G2 didn't look great early, then win back-to-back maps, go down 1-0 and win back-to-back to take the lead and win the match. But what's going to happen with EG? We haven't seen him yet. That's the key thing to look at. What did you guys learn about VCT? Let me know in the comments down below. I think the biggest takeaway for me is Loud did not skip a beat, and I thought they were going to. They did not. Absolutely wrong there. Look out. Loud is still terrifying. Can an NRG stop him? Can a Leviathan stop him? I don't know. We'll have to see. Let me know in the comments down below. Who is your favorite coming out of this week 1? Who do you think looked the best? And then, you know, maybe looking at some of the losers, right? 100 Thieves, a Crew, Furia. Who do you think out of those batches is looking best moving forward? Who has the most upside? Who's the team that could be like Evil Geniuses last year, who did not look good early, absolutely came on late and won the World Championship? Who's that team this year? I'm very curious what your thoughts are. Let me know in the comments down below, and we'll see you tomorrow.